Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. I feel like it's been forever because it has.
It has been forever. I know. And I went to text you. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to her in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we just got back from Italy 2 days ago, day before yesterday. And the first day I slept really good because we've been up for like 24 hours getting home. But the second day I think is always tough because I start waking up like at 1:00 in the morning. My body doesn't know what time it is. But anyway, I had a little bit of brain fog yesterday. So hopefully no brain fog today so we can make it through a podcast. But I'm super excited because a lot happened. So we'll just do a catch up today, kind of catch everybody up on what's going on.
Yep.
I know a lot's happened while we were out of the country also. So first of all, we went on a jazz cruise out of Rome for 7 days. And
but you guys do the jazz cruise like every year, right? It's just a different location.
Yeah, I mean, he started doing these international ones in different locations. Like next year is the French Riviera.
Oh.
So what's cool about it is it's jazz musicians these are musicians that are extremely successful, like major award winners.
Wow.
And so this was a smaller ship. There was only like 600 of us on there. So it's up close and personal. They might do a interview with them or do whatever. So you just hear a lot of great things. And so as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for where's the common theme between anybody who's successful and us as entrepreneurs. And so I kind of made a couple of notes I'll share with you. And what I want us to do is kind of talk through a couple of them. And I want your thoughts and maybe some times in your life when you either witnessed this or you know examples of it. So first of all, there was a thing on there called Secret Knocks. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I had never heard of it either. It's a guy named Dr. Greg Reed. And have you ever read the book 3 Feet from Gold?
No.
Okay.
I've never heard of that.
Okay. It's by Dr. Greg Reed and Sharon Lecter. And she was somehow associated with Robert Kiyosaki for years.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember her name. But anyway, he does a program called Secret Knocks. And what he said is how it started was he thought it'd be a good idea at his home to have a group of other entrepreneurs and just call them up and say, hey, do you want to come over? So-and-so who started this company or did this thing is going to be there. Do you want to come over and just kind of hang out with us and, let's just all hang out. And people were like, yes, I want to do that. So he said, well, just do the secret knock. And that kind of stuck. So now he does it. He'll do it again in March. I think we might go to this one in March of next year. And what he does is you don't know who's going to be there. And you don't know where to be. I mean, I think it's kind of always in San Diego, but you don't know what hotel or where.
Yeah.
But anyway, he brought on the ship. So they had a section that was just about learning and about health and different things like that, which I loved because, I love music, but, I can do without all music. So I was super excited about this. So he brought on a guy named Brian Smith, who, do you have any Uggs in your closet?
Oh, yeah. They're back.
We have like 10 or 12 or 15. This guy actually was the founder of Uggs.
Wow.
So we got to hear his story. And one of the main things that stuck with me, and I'm going to make some more notes later on some of his stuff, but one of the main things he said that stuck with me was there was 1,000 ways you might have never had an Ugg. Meaning there were so many points in the process that it could have gone it should have gone completely the other way.
Wow.
So meaning that there were so many obstacles and walls. And when you hit a wall, and I think this is true for any entrepreneur, when you hit a wall, what you have to do is you have to figure out how you're going to get around it, how you're going to get over it, or are you just going to let it stop you? And so he gave us so many examples so several things stood out about him. One, there were so many times when it looked like it was impossible. It wasn't going to go any farther. And because I think his dream was big enough, and this ties into something that Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness, who was also on the ship, said.
Man, this is
It
a
was
great one.
I mean, it was like a bonus day for me.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you real quick. One of the things Chris Gardner said that really stuck with me is dreams are free, but plans have a price.
Yep. Love that.
So the question becomes, are you willing to pay the price
Mm-hmm.
with your dream? So go back to Brian. The way Uggs even started was in Australia, everything's made out of sheepskins.
Mm.
And everything's called, the shoes that they wear are called Uggs. All of them are just called Uggs, right? Because everybody makes something out of sheepskin. So he was a surfer. Brian Smith was a surfer. So he comes over to LA and he's surfing one day, and he said he puts on his Uggs, and because he's chilled, he's cold, because the water on that side is like super cold. He gets the boots on and he gets chill bumps just run all up and down his spine, because he actually came there for an idea. He wanted a big idea that was going to make him very successful. So when he's putting on his Uggs that day, after he got through surfing, he got these he called them chili bumps that just went up and down his body. And he said, I knew instantly that my idea was that surfers needed these Uggs because when they get out of the water, they're so cold.
Yeah. Wow.
So he immediately got a supplier, got so many over here, and nobody bought. Nobody was buying them. So he tried several things. He tried running ads with like really perfect looking models with the Uggs on. That didn't work. Sold, $30,000 worth at the max, and he's got a whole lot more money into it. He winds up getting partners, and they wind up somehow taking his amount away from him, and he don't realize what he signed. He signed away his ownership.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
So, but here's the big message out of it. So what would most of the people we know, one of our frustrations is when a business partnership or people's relationships break up. One of my biggest frustrations that I see all the time is they just handle it all wrong. And because of the way they handle it, they shut off any more opportunities. Well, here's what Brian did. He realized that his best unique ability was the sales part of the Uggs. And so he stayed on with them even after that and started selling the Uggs. So something happened to one of the other owners, and the last owner came to him and said, after a year or so, said, Brian, you've been such an integral part of this, whatever. I'm going to give you your 25% because, they were waiting for some kind of lawsuit or something to disband or whatever. So he gets, the day before he gets his ownership back, the guy dies.
Oh.
So he can't get his ownership, and now the widow owns it all.
Oh my gosh.
So again, he's back to square zero.
Wow.
Now it's been years, and he goes to the wife and says, look, I'll help you, because she knew nothing about the company.
Yeah.
Well, he starts helping her. Well, she winds up selling him the company back.
Wow.
I mean, it was just one. So what he said out of that is there was 1,000 times you shouldn't have had Uggs.
Yep.
So when you tie that back with what Chris Gardner says, the dream is free, but the plan has a price. He was so unwilling to let the price be bigger and keep him from the dream. So that was just, it was just huge to think about. So the question that I came up with is, so what's the problem sometimes with when people, because everybody has a dream. Matter of fact, also, like one thing Chris Gardner says is dreams don't have any borders.
Yeah.
And
I
he had
love
a he had a book on the ship, and that he had written for his granddaughter, and we'd already bought in quite a few copies. But what he stands up there and says is, "Look, everybody on this ship is from other countries,
that.
but they have dreams too. So go buy them a copy. If they did a really good job for you this week, buy them a copy and leave it in your room or give it to them." He
Yeah.
said, because dreams don't have any borders.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, everybody has dreams. What do you think it is? Do you think they think of what the price is going to be before they try?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I go back in my life and I think about the dreams that I had, I'm a little bit naive in the fact that I don't usually ever think the price is going to be as high as it usually is.
Me too.
You
Yeah.
know? But by
Yeah.
the time I'm already in it,
Yep.
so what do you think? So I thought about this and I thought, okay, if everybody has a dream, is it they're contemplating the price to be too big so they don't get started,
Mhm.
or they get started and then the price is bigger than they thought, so they stop? What do you think? And with your own life, what have you seen?
Yeah, I think I love this conversation. I think that's a really great question, and a couple things popped into my mind first. I think, and I just talked about this when I spoke. I spoke on Friday for the Virginia's region at their regional mastermind event, which was really great. And by the way, so many people said they listened to the podcast, so it was it was so cool. Everybody was like, "We love the podcast." But one of the things that I talked about there is what John Maxwell has taught us, which is power, and there's power in proximity.
Mhm.
And sometimes I wonder if people don't, if the problem is that they don't get themselves in the right situation or the right rooms or around the right who's to be able to continue to reach the dream or to even start to get there. You know what I mean? Like I just think about personally for me, and I talked about this a lot in my keynote, but like, and we've talked about this before, but having proximity to certain people, having proximity to you, Linda, for me has been a game changer because it's pushed me to want to achieve some of those dreams. Some of them I have, and some of them I haven't even gotten close to yet. But I think it's just, and it makes me sad because I sometimes just wonder if it's like a proximity thing. If if some of these people, they're not achieving their dreams because they're not getting around the right people or they're not getting in the right rooms. And John always says a leader's best friend is momentum. Sometimes I think you just need a little bit of momentum and like this guy Brian, I mean, he had so many walls and so many hurdles. It sounds like I'm sure he lost momentum in every single one of those times, but somehow he found a way to get it back. So I don't know, but part of the first thing that popped in my head was like, is it a proximity problem? Like which
Well,
sometimes it's always a who problem.
well, that's a great point. And here's what I think. I think, let's say they go for the dream. Let's say they put a plan together and they start working the plan. I think the minute they hit a wall,
Yeah.
they've not trained themselves to say who
Yeah.
can help me, right? So here's another story about the Brian. He had hired models that were beautiful looking models and put them in swimsuits with Uggs and blah, blah, blah. And he goes into one of the surf shops. He started selling these out of his van. And
Hmm.
real funny, there was another guy selling, oh gosh, you would recognize the sandals if all the college students wear them. They start with a T.
Birkenstocks?
No, start with a T. Uh,
Tevas?
Tevas, yes. He was 3 doors down in another van. Well,
Wow.
later Brian sells his whole company to this guy in 1995.
Wow.
But back to the who, not how. I think so. What Brian did when he got up, one of the walls he got up against was to spend this money on advertising and not work. He
Yeah.
went into one of his surf shops and he says, because he just knew surfers were who he was after, right?
Mhm.
And so he asked the surf shop owner, he said, why, what is it about Uggs? And he called the guys from the back and he goes, they all came and they said, oh, Uggs, they're so lame. Because he had used the wrong people
Yep.
to advertise. So what he did is he went and found out who the up and coming surfers were that hadn't quite hit it yet.
Oh, smart.
And he paid for them and took them to a place that if you're a surfer, you're going to know exactly this location on this beach.
Wow.
And the Uggs were about tiny. They were little bitty in the ad. You could barely even tell it was about the surfer.
Yeah.
And so the minute he figured that out, um, he actually started running ads and they started working. And then somehow Oprah picked them up and they got put in magazines and all that stuff. But I think when people hit a wall, and you're going to hit a wall, that's the price of a plan, is it's going to have price in it. But I think they either don't, first thing they don't think to do is ask who.
Well, because somebody's done it might not have been Uggs, but somebody has already done anything that anybody wants to do in some way, shape, or form. It's
Yeah.
just looking up and saying, okay, like who's already done this? I just listened to a great podcast episode on this. Graham Cochran, who we had on, who his book Rebel just came out, and I just listened to one of his episodes, and he said his dream was for this book to be his new book. He'd written one book before, but was for Rebel to hit the bestseller list, and not just Amazon, but I think he wanted like New York Times and something else. He had a list of the ones that he wanted.
USA Today and all them.
Yeah, all of them. And he said that, and this is going exactly with what you're saying about the dreams are free, but the plans have a price, because he said it looked like to all of these people that this book came out, and I got on a couple of podcasts and it hit everyone he wanted him to hit. And he said, but what they didn't see is that I stopped my subscription based business this year, so I lost like $300,000 worth of income, or however much it was. And he said I stopped doing something else. Anyway, the purpose of it was that he sacrificed all of this other stuff over the last like 12 to 24 months, because he knew that in order to accomplish the dream of hitting all the lists, he had to follow the plan that Rory Vaden's company had come up with. Otherwise, he wasn't going to do it. But he's like, people just think you just appear on these things, or like all of a sudden you just appear, your dream just appears. But I think that what he was saying too is part of a problem. I don't think sometimes people are willing to sacrifice like some of the other things that you have to sacrifice in order to hit the dream.
Well, okay, so this makes me think of something else. So one of my friends who actually listens to our podcast, she's from Utah, Jean Tanner. Love her. I keep saying we got to get her on the podcast because this woman's done amazing things, and has been in the real estate business probably as long as I have, but she's done some amazing stuff. So anyway, Jean texts me because she had listened to one of our podcasts, and then we get to talking, and she was about to do Ben Hardy's 90-day transformation. I thought, I love Ben. I'm going to do it too with you, Jean. I need something like that right now. So I signed up. And one of the first things that Ben tells you to do is, like he said, you got to make number one an impossible goal. What's your impossible dream? And it has to be impossible. It has to be something that just scares you to death, right? Then what you have to do is start looking for all the lesser goals that are going to keep you from that bigger goal. Yeah. So in his example, he had been working on building his YouTube channel. He totally let his YouTube channel go.
Ben did?
Yeah.
Wow, because he had a pretty strong YouTube channel.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just, I'm loving it. It's exactly what I needed. It's really.
I've never even heard of that. What is it? You do something for 90 days?
The 90-day transformation. Oh, and here's the funny thing. I just texted Gene this, and I thought, oh gosh. He said on the thing the other day, I think I'm not going to do this again. And I'm like, oh my God.
Why?
It actually started while I was in Italy last week. So I caught up on all the videos, and I'm already just blown away at the way he thinks. And
he's so smart. Yeah.
He's so smart. And so, but it's so true. When I look back on my past, the way that I was able to 10X is I let go of things. It wasn't what I took on. It wasn't what I added. It was what I let go of.
Yep.
And so anyway, so I'll each time we talk, I'll give a little more update on kind of what I'm learning and, what I'm doing with it and all that stuff. So right now I'm just trying to come up with speaking of proximity, I had ran into Jeff Woods a couple weeks ago when I texted you and said he's to get him on the podcast because he has a great new book called AI Driven Leader. That
title is so good.
And you wait, the book, he's going to come on our podcast and we're going to give him a situation and he's going to actually show us how to use AI to be a strategic thinker with
Love it.
Love it. Well, anyway, he said, hey, let's catch up. So we've been trying to catch up. And of course I was gone. So we finally had our call today, and we had just ran into, I don't know why it's so natural for me to say who. I
Yeah.
just, that's my first question is who can help me? Press gave me a situation where our processor on something just canceled us out of the blue, in which
Wow.
Jeff was, it's not uncommon. So my first instinct is, well, who do I know that knows about, who knows someone at this company? Because you can't get to anybody. Nobody will even
Yeah.
talk to you. So I'm like, who do I know that knows somebody at this company that will at least talk to us and try to help us figure out why they just dropped us? I mean, out of the
Yeah.
blue, right? I mean, that'll put you out of business in a hurry. So anyway, I was out talking to Jeff and I said, speaking of this, Jeff, I need to ask you something. Do you know somebody at this company? Which I don't think he does, but I think he knows another company does the same thing that can rush our process and get us back online
Yeah.
with it. But I think you're absolutely right. I think people don't, either they're intimidated
Yep.
or, because even in this program, one of the first things Ben said is it's always a who. If you put an impossible dream, so he gave a story of a girl who does credit repair.
Uh-huh.
And in this credit repair, she was thinking, I'm really good on calls. I'm really good at converting people. So her impossible goal at first was 100 calls in a certain frame. But when she really thought about it, that wasn't really the right goal.
Yeah.
Because what he says is we can't make decisions based on our past. We can only make decisions based on our future self.
Yep.
So once we figure out what is our future self, what's that future impossible goal, then and only then can we solve the problem to get there. But what we
Yep.
try to do is we try to go from everything in our past. And that's our past future, right? So I mean that was the future before, right? So we
Yep.
need a future that's going to make us start our brain start solving that problem. And don't you think that when you finally are faced with a problem, your brain goes to work to fix it?
Totally. Yep.
I know mine does too. So I'm thinking, this is genius. Why have I not thought of this before? I'm just not giving my brain the right problems.
Yeah. And I think too, like just you saying, he said we can only make decisions on our future self. I mean, I talk to a lot of people really lately kind of that just have stopped dreaming. Like I think sometimes there might be people out there that just need to start dreaming again. Um it just seems like sometimes we get so stuck in like the everyday crap for lack
Well,
of better word that we stop dreaming, you know?
yeah. Well, I think you got to figure yourself out enough to figure out what would cause me to dream again. And you do
Yeah.
that. Like the minute Jean said she's doing this 90-day transformation, I'm like, I'm in. I'm
Yep.
in. The stuff, I'm signing up.
Yep.
I didn't even know what the price was, but I didn't care because I
Yep.
knew instantly
You
that
needed.
I needed that push.
Yep.
And the minute I started doing it, I got excited again, scared, but excited.
Mhm.
I don't even know
Mhm.
what my possible goal is yet, and I'm excited and scared,
I know,
right?
I was gonna ask you if you had one.
But I'm going to I'm going to go through the worksheets and figure out what it is, but it's going to be big. So I'm going to go back and tell you the story about the person that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so first she was going to put that she was just going to make 100 calls. And instead, what she changes it to a much bigger number. And then one of the first things she does is find a company that has a ton of people that either need credit repair or something. So
Yeah,
when one connection, she
yeah,
solved her whole problem. I mean, not her whole problem, her whole impossible goal.
yeah, because she could make over 100.
Yeah. So having 100 calls is like, that's not big enough. You got to
Yeah,
go for something so big that and 99% of the time it's about a who, because somebody out there has the people you need to do what you need to do.
yeah,
So with that, the guy listened to her and he loved her stuff so much, he immediately lined her up with 1,000 people to do it.
wow,
So I think, I don't know what, I think when you stop dreaming, I think we all have bouts of our dreaming being less. You got to figure out, what do you need? Do I need rest? Do I need to hang around with other people?
Yep.
Do I need to be inspired? Is there a book that would help me? Is there a training that would help me? Is there a person that I could just talk through?
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor and the minute you start trying to tell the doctor what's wrong with you, you like solve it yourself or something or anything. Or if I'm talking to anybody and I just start talking my problem out loud to someone, 99% of the time I'm like, oh, I got the idea. I got the solution right here. I don't even need the other person to do anything but listen.
Yep.
So I think
Mm-mm.
you gotta not be willing to not be dreaming. You gotta not be willing
Well,
to not be dreaming.
yeah, I totally agree with that. And that just made me think I had to pull it up because I have this saved on my phone. But we shared this a while ago. I think maybe like my most impactful thing I read this year was one sentence by Amy Porterfield. And she said, you'll remember it when I say it, human beings find happiness in progress. When we are not making progress, things get dark and we start to spiral. And I love that because number one, it's so true. But number two, when we aren't dreaming or maybe when we aren't doing some of these things that we've talked about, I think it's just like the stagnation sets in, the what's the fifth C? The complacency sets in, and we aren't making progress in anything. So we do. So then at least for me, and I know for you too. Like then it does start to get dark, and I do start to spiral because I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa, wait a minute, I'm not.
yeah.
I feel like I'm not doing anything or winning at anything or making progress in anything. And I think achievers, especially, like that's a problem. It can get you to a dark place.
Yeah. Well, and what you got to realize is activity breeds activity. So
Yep.
the best thing you can do is do something, anything, don't even worry about whether it's the right thing. Just start doing
Yeah, just do
something.
it. Yeah.
What's the next best thing I could do? And it might be pick up a phone and just talk to somebody. Just by saying it out loud to somebody, you're probably going to see, you know, a path that you couldn't see when you were just holding it in inside.
Yeah, I think I told you this last time, but Dylan, our new team leader in Kentucky, I mean, he's just killing it. And they featured him on the growth call, and people keep calling me or texting me and saying, like, what is it? I'm trying to hire a team leader. What is, and every time that answer, I mean, he's great, but he's just doing like he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
He's just getting up every day and he's actually doing activities.
Mhm.
And it's not the same thing necessarily every day. And some days it might not be the right thing, but he's just getting into activity. And
Yeah.
it's been good because he's been a great reminder for me of exactly that. If people are not achieving the results that they want to, like what you just said, Linda, just do something. Just get up and do something because it'll make things happen.
Well, I think too, you've hired somebody who wants to win. And so
Yeah.
you don't have to spoon feed them the ideas. If
Mhm.
they hit a wall, they're going to figure out how to get around that wall or over that wall. And
Yep.
it isn't that he's waking up every day and not facing a wall. He is. He's facing the
Oh
same
yeah, he
walls
is.
the team leader is facing. The only difference is he's finding a way around it and over
Yeah.
it or something. And so I
Yep.
think, how many times do we have to be reminded, you know, most of our success happens when we hire the right person.
Totally.
I mean, but when we look at our calendars, how much are we actually looking for those right people?
And to totally just land the plane on our whole entire episode today, hiring him has actually enabled me to get back to dreaming again and to be able to look at some of the big dreams that I still want to have come true and like accomplish that I haven't been able to focus on for the last couple of years because I didn't have that right who. So it's really just cool to watch.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. Well, I just want to bring that to you and us kind of talk it through because it really stuck out to me that if everybody's a dreamers and dreams don't have any borders, that means everybody has dreams. There's
Yep.
not a person that doesn't have dreams. So what is it? Is it that they start to visualize what the pain's going to be and so therefore they don't start,
Yep.
or they start in the pain of the plan and the first obstacle they hit they give up? So something to think about.
Yeah.
I love
Yep. Totally. I love it too.
Well, okay, another great episode. Love talking to you. I am excited, and I will keep you up to date about my 90-day transformation.
I know I can't wait to hear. I'm about to go Google that.
Yes, look it up. Look it up. I'm super pumped to do it. I'm excited and scared at the same time, which is always good. Scared is fun, so it's okay to be scared. If you're not scared, commit to something that scares the heck out of you.
I can't wait to hear what you end up coming up with your impossible goal. Just those words kind of make it seem like, wait a minute, if it's impossible,
Yeah, and one of the criteria he gave us is you can change the goal, but you can't change the goal because you think it's not possible.
Right. Okay.
So that's one of the criteria is you can change your goal, because sometimes people won't make a goal because they're like, well, what if I want to change it? Right? I remember thinking that years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it's all changeable. You can change it at any minute. It's your goal.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is change it because you start thinking, oh, it's impossible. You can't change it for that reason.
Yeah, I love that. He's so smart. Actually, our friend here in Charleston, Matt O'Neill, I think you met him at the summit. He was the one who brought Make-A-Wish. He's a really great guy. Okay, well, he just wrote a book, and this was one of his big dreams. It's his first book, and it's called The Good Mood Book. And anyway, Ben wrote the foreword for him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we're actually going to dinner with them tonight with some of our other friends, Jen and Tim, who we went on the mission trip with because it's Tim's birthday. But I'm excited to talk to Matt tonight about his relationship with Ben because he's been working with Ben. And so we'll get to talk about Ben again tonight too.
Well, and that reminds me, I did buy those shoes. I need to do an auction and maybe give it to the hurricane victims. So I need to figure out.
Oh, that'd be a great idea.
Auction them off because I did buy shoes to use for a KW Cares auction. And I know KW Cares is doing massive things in the Carolinas and Florida.
Hey, Linda, Rachel is doing the big regional auction that's coming up. They got put together while you were out of town, so you should ask.
They sent me a thing and I donated money. I wasn't sure when it's going to be done. Maybe I'll ask her to put these.
Ask her about that. Yeah, because that might be something you could do with those because I think it's going to run October 21st through the 27th, and people can bid on like all sorts of free coaching, some stays, some trips, like all sorts of stuff like that. Awesome. And all of the money is going to the hurricane victim. So yeah, that might be something.
Great. We should put something on there about someone can come on the podcast and we'll help them solve an issue.
A live one. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll text her right now and tell her that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, good talking to you. I'm glad to be back. I'm excited.
Yes, good to have you back.
All the great things. And I guess I'll talk to you next week. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you could pay Dana and I is, number one, give us a great review so that other people see that you enjoy the conversations we have, and pass this podcast along to anyone that you think that would benefit. If you have a challenge, an opportunity, or a guest that you'd like for us to bring on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.